The Panama Canal, a vital waterway connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, is once again at the center of a fierce global competition. This strategic passage is not only a hub for commercial shipping, but also a focal point for the political aspirations of major powers. Tensions in Latin America have escalated due to China's port investments in the region and U.S. President Donald Trump's assertive claims of reclaiming the canal, with his administration already taking steps toward that goal. Caught between Washington's economic leverage and Beijing's infrastructure initiatives, the Panamanian government appears to be weighing its options. Why is China so troubled by Trump's framing of Panama's stance as a triumph? How does this shift impact Hong Kong-based companies operating in the area? And what measures is Beijing taking to counter Trump and restore its influence? Could the potential sale of shares in the Chinese company managing the canal to American investors throw a wrench in Beijing's long-term strategy? Furthermore, is Panama signaling a retreat from China's Belt and Road Initiative, or is this merely a tactical play with the U.S.? The Panamanian president's firm declaration that the canal belongs to Panama and always will underscores the nation's sovereignty. Yet the question remains, can it resist being eclipsed by the clashing ambitions of these two superpowers? We will now delve into these issues, examining the effects of the U.S.-China rivalry on the Panama Canal and exploring how these developments might reshape the landscape of global trade. In recent years, China has steadily expanded its strategic foothold in Panama, amplifying its sway over the region. A key milestone in this effort was the acquisition by Hong Kong-based CK Hutchison Holdings of operating rights for the ports at both ends of the Panama Canal. This move is widely regarded as a pivotal step in solidifying China's regional influence, serving not just economic purposes, but also advancing geopolitical objectives. By securing these ports, China has bolstered its grip on critical trade and logistics pathways in the area. A significant turning point came in 2017 when Panama's government shifted its diplomatic allegiance. Ending a long-standing relationship with Taiwan, Panama established formal ties with China, a move that cemented Beijing's strategic interests. This realignment led Panama to join China's Belt and Road Initiative, a sweeping global strategy to transform infrastructure and trade networks. Panama's participation marked a deliberate effort to deepen its economic and commercial connections in the region, further elevating China's presence. These developments have heightened China's influence in Panama while raising concerns about U.S. interests. Washington closely observed Panama's pivot, wary of its potential to erode America's historical dominance in the area. In response, U.S. President Donald Trump, both during and after his election campaign, insisted that the United States should reclaim control of the Panama Canal. He sharply condemned China's expanding control over the Panama Canal, pledging to safeguard U.S. national interests with decisive action. His remarks indicated a shift toward a tougher U.S. policy in the region and a more confrontational approach to China. Meanwhile, in February 2025, Panama declared its exit from the Belt and Road Initiative, marking a significant shift in its strategic alignment with China. In the wake of this decision, CK Hutchison, a conglomerate tied to Hong Kong billionaire Li Ka-shing's family, opted to offload its vital port operations at the Panama Canal to a group of investors spearheaded by U.S. asset manager BlackRock for $22.8 billion. Trump hailed the transaction in his congressional address shortly after it was revealed, stating, "My administration is going to take back the Panama Canal, and we've already begun the process." Following the announcement, CK Hutchison's stock price in Hong Kong dropped 8.5%, reversing earlier gains. China reacted strongly to the sale, denouncing it as unauthorized and unwelcome. Beijing argued that the deal not only threatened its strategic leverage over the canal, but also appeared designed to bolster U.S. dominance in the region. Sources familiar with Beijing's decision-making reveal that the Xi administration initially intended to leverage the Panama port situation as a negotiating tool with the Trump administration. However, it was caught off guard as control unexpectedly slipped away. In response to these shifts, Beijing has taken significant steps to reinforce its strategic foothold in Panama and recalibrate its regional relationships amid mounting U.S. pressure. A delegation headed by Ma Hui from the International Department of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee traveled to Panama as part of this effort. Meanwhile, President Trump, who has long insisted on restoring U.S. dominance over the Panama Canal, celebrated the deal as a triumph over China's influence in what he calls America's backyard. This outcome visibly frustrated Chinese leader Xi Jinping, who, while not downplaying the canal's strategic value, bristled at the perception of China emerging as the weaker party. The Chinese government has since backed criticism of the transaction, reviving rhetoric that frames it as a betrayal of the Chinese people. Despite Beijing's objections, halting the deal poses significant challenges. The assets in question are situated beyond mainland China and Hong Kong, and the involved parties have confidently asserted that the transaction can proceed without hitches. So far, China has exercised notable restraint in responding to Trump's latest tariffs, signaling an intent to avoid escalating tensions. The $22.8 billion agreement remains pending, with the companies aiming to finalize documents by April 2nd, subject to subsequent regulatory approvals. As this monumental deal reverberates worldwide, the statements from key players are drawing attention. A U.S. State Department spokesperson remarked, "We are encouraged by plans from U.S. investors to secure a majority stake in the Panama Ports Company, which manages the Balboa and Cristobal ports at either end of the Panama Canal. This investment will help diminish the concerning presence of the Chinese Communist Party in the Panama Canal region." Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino took to social media with a firm statement. "Truth is truth. The canal is and will always be Panamanian." The Chinese embassy in Panama fired back at the U.S. maneuver during a March 7th press conference, asserting that the nations of Latin America and the Caribbean, LAC, seek to build their own homes, not serve as someone's backyard. They aspire to independence and self-determination, free from the shadow of the Monroe Doctrine. China further contends that its regional presence enjoys widespread support and positions it as a dependable economic ally for Latin America. Conversely, Chinese officials warned that U.S. dominance over Panama's ports could jeopardize China's interests, mirroring Trump's claim that under existing rules, China could hinder U.S.-bound vessels at the two terminals. These terminals managed 40% of the containers transiting the Panama Canal in 2024. Panamanian authorities have consistently stressed that they maintain full control over canal operations, asserting that the Chinese-managed facilities present no military risk and adhere to the canal's neutrality. Financial reports from C.K. Hutchison reveal that as of June 2024, only 12% of its revenue stemmed from mainland China and Hong Kong, a sharp drop from over 26% in 2015, while roughly half now originates from Europe and the UK. This shift is largely attributed to Beijing's tightening grip on Hong Kong-based firms. Hong Kong's chief executive John Lee issued a pointed statement. "We reject the use of coercion or intimidation in global trade. Hong Kong will manage this deal in line with legal and regulatory standards." Amid this tug of war between China and the United States, Panama remains steadfast in its pursuit of sovereignty. President Jose Raul Mulino underscored this resolve, declaring that the canal has always been Panama's and will never fall under foreign dominion. Panama persists in safeguarding its national interests amid growing U.S. pressure, all while striving to preserve a delicate equilibrium in its relationship with China. The country's future stance hinges on its ability to juggle strategic alignment with the U.S. alongside economic ties with China. Panama may wish to keep reaping the benefits of China's infrastructure projects and trade prospects, yet the US's security and economic stakes in the region make it equally vital for Panama to nurture robust diplomatic and economic connections with Washington. To strike this balance, Panama is likely to pursue a multilateral foreign policy, fostering constructive ties with both superpowers. This approach mirrors strategies adopted by other Latin American nations, reflecting Panama's intent to optimize its national interests. Ultimately, Panama's economic and political trajectory will rest on how well it navigates its relationships with the United States and China, protecting its sovereignty and independence while accommodating the priorities of both nations will remain a fundamental pillar of Panama's foreign policy. Now, if you like this video, check out this next video right here.